And of course, as human beings, we do have these wonderfully amazing and compassionate hearts that we can activate, that we're seeing so much of, as here in Hawaii, we're facing the crisis that's happening over on Maui. And we also have these amazing human minds. We talked last week about the metaphoric gift of Prometheus, of the lighting up of the human mind with all that it is capable of doing. And we know that it's capable of a little bit of mischief. We know that it's capable of a lot of activity to support the ego. And so there is a certain degree to which training of the human mind is very important, which is our topic for today. I would like to say that yesterday and today, between yesterday and today, we celebrate the birthday of Helena Blavatsky, who was born right there at the stroke of midnight between August 11th and August 12th. And she was someone who certainly helped to sharpen and expand the mind of her age. She was born in the 1800s. And she's someone who brought a lot of the teachings from the East to the West. And part of those teachings do include ones of how to train the mind and to train the mind to something higher. There's a lot of training of the mind that's helping us to get what we want, but this is a higher training of the mind that we're talking about. We are very fortunate to have with us to share at the beginning somebody who has been studying the mind, most recently at Chaminade University in the master's program. Is it a doctorate program too that you're in, David?
Not yet.
Not yet, but master's so far.
Just a master's.
And he is also somebody who has done a lot of studying of his own mind and of the mind in general. He was one of the first people to get involved that I know of with kind of extensions of the human mind, we could say, through the computer world. And in fact, he is going to speak to us today on training the mind from the quote unquote tradition of AI, artificial intelligence. So I'm sure we're all thrilled to find out what that really means. David.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. So I had the initial response to myself about, well, is AI a tradition? And so I invite you to imagine if you were maybe at a satsang in India in the year 50 AD, and someone suggested the tradition of Christianity, you'd probably think, oh, that's not a tradition, that's a cult. So from that place, I invite us to think that we are talking about citizens of the future. And in the future, we'll be looking back at this time. You wonder where we will have gone. So with that in mind, I have prepared over the last few weeks a composition that I'm going to read. And because I think for some of you who are more visually oriented, I've also prepared it in the form of text that I'll be reading from and you can read from. If you're more auditorily oriented, you might close your mind, close your eyes and not your mind and take it in from that standpoint. So, you know, as they say, to err is human, but to really mess things up, you need a computer. And it's been one of those days. I think random neutrinos are flying through the atmosphere and setting bits on my computer that I didn't expect. And welcome, Myrtle is joining us. She was a presenter from the field of psychology back, I think it's been about 2 years ago now. So welcome, Myrtle, as well. So let me see if I can make the magic happen here. And this should go something like this. So in considering the topic of training the mind, in relation to the Still and Moving Center's theme for this year, Citizens in the Future, I'm guided by my intuition to consider the impact of technology on the future of the human race and how we'll show up in the emerging world. Toward this line of thinking, I've invited the assistance of AI, specifically ChatGPT, to sculpt for our edification and bemusement the notion of training the mind along the lines of intention, imagination, perspective, adaptability, the symphony of mind and heart, and compassion and empathy and independent thinking. Drawing inspiration from the wisdom of the esteemed minds of the Buddha, Albert Einstein, Apollonius, Patanjali, George Bernard Shaw, Thomas à Kempis, the Maitrayana Upanishad, and Margaret Mead, we will traverse the enchanting yet often confounding landscapes of the mind, exploring its impact on our lives and the resplendent world we inhabit. Fellow wisdom seekers and creators, students and teachers, sinners and saints, I invite you to embark upon the profound exploration of the boundless realm of the mind, where thoughts dance like celestial constellations, and imagination weaves tapestries of endless possibility. Together, let us bask in the radiance of our own consciousness and unlock the transformative power that lies within. I offer you now the radiance within, illuminating the mind's potential. So, as an introduction, rejoice in wakefulness, guard well your thoughts. The Buddha's words serve as a reminder of the transformative power of mindfulness and the importance of maintaining a vigilant awareness of our thoughts. By embracing wakefulness and consciously guarding our thoughts, we gain the ability to shape our inner world and ultimately transform our external reality. On intention, the Buddha said, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It's made up of our thoughts. If one speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows them, like a shadow that never leaves them. Within the sacred tapestry of our own being, woven from the threads of conscious awareness, lies the profound truth shared by the enlightened one. He reminds us that the essence of our very existence is intricately interwoven with the fabric of our thoughts. It is through the prism of our thoughts that our reality takes form and finds its foundation. In the gentle whisper of this ancient wisdom, we are beckoned to embrace the power of pure thought. For when our words and actions emanate from the sanctum of purity, a radiant light of happiness follows us faithfully, like an eternal shadow never parting from our side. It is in this state of alignment with our noblest intentions that we unlock the gateway to lasting joy and fulfillment. Let us then cultivate the garden of our thoughts with the utmost care, nurturing seeds of compassion, kindness, and wisdom. As we tend to this sacred inner landscape, we manifest a harmonious symphony of thoughts that ripples outward, touching the lives of others and weaving a tapestry of collective well-being. Let the words of the Buddha resonate within the depths of our being, transforming us at every level of our existence. Let us walk the path of happiness, spreading its enchanting radiance to every corner of our lives and the lives of those we touch. On imagination, in the words of Albert Einstein, imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. In Einstein's resounding words, we discover the inherent brilliance of the mind's creative faculties. Imagination, like a celestial beacon, allows us to transcend the boundaries of what is known, propelling us toward the frontiers of the evolution of consciousness. It is through the illumination of imagination that we harness the vast expanse of possibilities and give birth to the wondrous expansion of human potential. Similarly, in the words of Apollonius, imagination is one of the most potent faculties, for it enables us to reach nearer to realities. Apollonius highlights the remarkable creative force of the human imagination. It's through our ability to imagine and envision possibilities that we tap into untouched potential and pave the way for innovation, growth, and personal development. Apollonius recognizes that our imagination allows us to see beyond what is immediately apparent. It fuels our creativity, enabling us to transcend limitations and bring forth new ideas, solutions, and insights. By harnessing our imagination, we can tap into a deeper understanding of the world and ourselves. May their words spark our imagination and light the flame of our creativity. On perspective, transforming our mind through opposites. In the words of the sage Patanjali, to exclude or remove questionable things from the mind, mentally call up their opposites. Here, Patanjali offers us a powerful technique for transforming our minds. By mentally invoking the opposites of negative or undesirable thoughts, we cultivate a shift in perspective, paving the way for positive change and personal growth. He offers a practical approach to transforming our minds by mentally summoning the opposites of questionable thoughts. This technique invites us to replace negativity with positivity, doubt with faith, and fear with courage. It reminds us that we have the power to consciously shape our thoughts and emotions, leading to personal growth and a more fulfilling life. On adaptability, once again, we're blessed with the wisdom of Einstein. The measure of intelligence is the ability to change. In the quantum realm of perception, intelligence is not confined to stagnant boundaries, but flourishes in the realm of adaptability and change. Like a flowing river that meanders through time, the mind, with its infinite curiosity and capacity for growth, continually seeks new channels of understanding. By embracing change, we transcend the limitations of the known and immerse ourselves in the ceaseless expansion of knowledge and wisdom. Those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. George Bernard Shaw. Shaw emphasizes the importance of embracing change. A rigid and closed mind restricts our potential for growth and hinders our ability to adapt to new circumstances. By cultivating an open mind, we unlock new possibilities, broaden our horizons, and embrace personal transformation. The ability to adapt, evolve, and change our perspectives is crucial for personal growth and the pursuit of meaningful experiences. Without the willingness to change our minds, we constrain our own transformation. Let their wisdom soften the brittle nature of our habitual thinking and set our minds free. On the symphony of mind and heart, in the words of an unnamed sage, aspire to harmonize the ethereal melodies of the mind with the rhythmic cadence of the heart. For it is in this symphony that true wisdom and fulfillment reside. In the intricate interplay of mind and heart, we find the symphony of our existence. The mind, with its luminous thoughts, serves as a guide, while the heart, with its profound intuition, provides the compass that steers us towards authentic purpose and joy. From the Maitreya Upanishad, keep your mind in check until dissolved in the heart. This is the knowledge. This, the deliverance. The Maitreya emphasizes the harmony between mind and heart. When we align our thoughts with the wisdom of the heart, we attain true knowledge and liberation. By integrating our thoughts and emotions, we foster inner peace, clarity, and a profound connection to ourselves and others. Invite the ethereal melodies of our minds to resonate in harmony with the rhythmic cadence of our hearts, so that true wisdom and fulfillment may awaken within us. On compassion and empathy, thou oughtest to call to mind the more heavy sufferings of others, so that thou mayest more easily bear thine own very small troubles. The words of Thomas à Kempis reminds us of the power of empathy and compassion. By considering the profound sufferings experienced by others, we gain perspective on our own challenges. This shift in focus cultivates empathy, resilience, and the ability to navigate adversity with grace. This practice helps us put our challenges into context, leading to a greater sense of gratitude. By training our minds to shift focus from our troubles to the broader world, we develop a compassionate outlook and find the strength to face our own difficulties. On nurturing independent thinking in children, children must be taught how to think, not what to think. Margaret Mead. Miss Mead emphasizes the significance of cultivating independent thinking in children by nurturing their ability to think critically, question assumptions, and contribute to the world with their unique perspectives, and explore their own ideas. We're encouraged to empower them to become active participants in shaping their own lives and contribute to the well-being of others, their families, communities, and ultimately posterity. Encouraging critical thinking and curiosity prepares them to face the world, the challenges of an ever-changing world. In conclusion, as we draw towards the conversation portal, let us honor the captivating tapestry we weave from the luminosity of our collective thoughts. Inspired by the eloquence of great minds and the wisdom of countless thinkers, we have opened exploration of the magnificent impact of our minds. Let us ponder this transformative potential of imagination, the harmonious interplay of mind and heart, the quantum nature of perception, and the alchemical power of thought. May we, like celestial voyagers, continue to embrace the brilliance of our minds, nurturing thoughts that radiate with authenticity, compassion, and boundless curiosity. In doing so, we not only illuminate our own path, but also inspire those around us to embark upon their own journeys of self-discovery and transcendence. Let us forge ahead, embracing the resplendent radiance within us, and together we shall manifest a world ablaze with the beauty of our collective consciousness. As we continue on this path of self-mastery, let us remember that the quality of our thoughts determines the outcomes we manifest in our lives and the lives of those around us. Through nurturing our heart minds, we create a ripple effect of positive change and contribute to the well-being of the world. Thank you. The portal is open.
Yay! That was so beautiful. Once I could get my microphone open to tell you that. Wow.
Great.
Thank you, David. Tell us now, you said you did this in correspondence with Chat GPT. Tell
Yes.
us how you did that. What does that mean? You did it together with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so I copied all the quotes from the almanac of this year and added a couple of others that I am fond of from Einstein, and I believe it offered up some of its own as well. I copied them all into ChatGPT, and I said, with some flourishing kind of language, let's put this into prose and see how it comes out. And it came out something like what we just heard, but over the last couple of weeks, I re-asked the question a number of different times, kind of asking for different styles of language. And I picked and chose from my favorite passages from it, and then did some editing around that. So that was how the piece was created. It came up with each time I asked it, it came up with a different title for that idea, but it basically put all of the ideas from those quotes together and wove together this tapestry, if you will. That's how it happened.
Wonderful. So tell me, if you can, tell all of us how to you that exercise had to do with training the mind, that whole process that you went through. together with
Mhm.
ChatGPT.
Each of the quotes looked at training the mind from a slightly different perspective, which is how it came up with organizing the essay in the format that it did, looking at from the standpoint of perspective, intention, the weaving together of the heart and the mind. So it read through all of the quotes and came up with that organization for an essay, which I then modified. So it really was, it was ChatGPT, it was me, Renee, it was you for selecting those quotes, and whoever else helps you select those quotes are all the minds that went into this. And of course, ChatGPT is the culmination of all the minds that have fed into the internet at this point, up to the year 2021. So there's a lot of minds in there. And I'm continuously blown away by what it comes up with. And the fact that it offered up a few quotes that I didn't put in and you didn't put in, but that supported the essay itself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so the one quote that's not included from this week is the Dalai Lama's. And I wonder, I'm going to go ahead.
How did he get missed out, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and read that.
Yes, please.
Western brains they work a great deal, but always in the direction of efficiency. In that way, the mind puts itself at the service of the result. Like all servants, it renounces its independence. I'm talking about another form of spiritual life, more detached and deeper, free from the obsession of a goal to be reached. In a way, the universal invasion of technology everywhere it goes lessens the life of the mind.
Maybe it just selectively excluded that one.
Carolyn?
Is there some place where that can be posted? Because I could see the value of just listening quietly and being able to scroll through it actually multiple times as an exercise in training the mind.
I completely concur. I went through it quite a number of times, and each time that I did, I got, of course, a deeper and deeper understanding of the messages of each of the quotes. The Dalai Lama's quote is very interesting. I wonder if you wouldn't mind reading it one more time, because it points to something that's fairly poignant and maybe just beneath the surface of what this essay came up with.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any way that somebody can get it onto the screen. Let's see. Kevin, do you want to read that one for us, please?
Of course. Wednesday, August 16th. Western brains work. They work a great deal, but always in the direction of efficiency. In that way, the mind puts itself at the service of the result. Like all servants, it renounces its independence. I'm talking about another form of spiritual life, more detached and deeper, free from the obsession of a goal to be reached. In a way, the universal invasion of technology, everywhere it goes, lessens the life of the mind. Tenzin Gyatso, 14th Dalai Lama.
Thank you so much. So if you have a thought, or maybe Carol Ann was going to comment on that, I'm not sure. Maybe somebody else.
Yeah.
So I just had this beautiful moment where I felt like I was being read to by a citizen of the future almost. And like a letter to humankind of present time, reminding us that we're needing to become more present, that we're missing it. And the thing about this particular Dalai Lama is that I had the opportunity to navigate a room of several hundred people and use a quote from 2 or 3 weeks ago from the 14th Dalai Lama about if every 8-year-old were taught to meditate, we would eliminate violence within the world in 1 generation. And it just, there's something profound about kind of my own path in the way that this particular year in the almanac has been effective in moving me in a direction that I think is how citizens of the future should live: less footprint on the earth and more love for humanity. So I am just strangely in awe of how cool it was to hear something that guides my life so much put into a story. And I felt like I was being read to by somebody 100 years from now that they want us to know now and we're not hearing. So much gratitude to you for this lovely talk.
Yeah. Thanks, Carol Ann. I wonder if somebody has something at the tip of their tongue they're wanting to share. Yeah, Cliff?
Well, I'm still baffled, David, about how this form of AI did what it did. Can you explain the process here? How it helped you compose this almost like a poetic prose?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did it do that?
Yeah. Have you used ChatGPT yourself? That would be illuminating. So, I think how I might demonstrate this. I could just open a ChatGPT window and share it and have it compose something for us. That might be one way to do that. Why don't since it's on the tip of my tongue, I wanted to mention before we go there that something that we've seen in the world as the world is getting very polarized recently, and I think it has been very polarized in the past. I think this polarization is something that kind of comes and goes, ebbs and flows. But I wonder if these tools becoming so powerful, if they don't just, in a sense, keep us locked in a loop, rather than expand ideas, it kind of folds back in on itself. If it's using everything that we already know and not actually creating something new. And that may be something, the whole idea of creativity may be why we can't be replaced. That was my thought. Just switch over and share. I think one of the things that I can share is my entire desktop. So then you'll kind of watch the process happening. Okay, welcome back. So it's asking for my information, logging in, and ChatGPT opens, and here's a whole list over here on the left of things that I have looked at in the past. Einstein's perception of reality, a conversation that I had with it. But I'll create a new chat here. And I'll say something like, let's see. Tell me a story in limerick form about a group of intellectuals discussing the training of the mind. And everybody seeing this happen? Regenerate. All right. In a quaint little town so refined, intellectuals oft gathered inclined. They spoke of the mind and how to refine in limericks their thoughts intertwined. Said one with a pipe in his hand, training the mind is quite grand. With knowledge we'll feed each thought that we need, and wisdom will spread through the land. A mathematician so wise with numbers that danced in his eyes, like equations you see, our thoughts must be free to explore where the intellect lies. A poet with ink-stained attire said, language sets minds all on fire. With words that we choose, our ideas we infuse, and kindle the flames of desire. A philosopher deep in thought mused on the mind's battles fought. Perception the key to set thinking minds free as reality layers are sought. A scientist with a grand vision said, curiosity's our mission. Through experiments grand, we'll unravel and understand the mind's intricate, vast intermission. So in limericks witty and bright, these thinkers converse day and night on how minds should be trained in wisdom unchained in that town where ideas took flight. And then I'll say, okay, once more in prose.
You're not going to lose that, right?
No.
good.
And
Because that's amazing.
let it be full of flourish. Dum, da, dum, dum. Thinking, regenerating.
Change your G to an H, see if it helps.
Okay. In a picturesque and charming village nestled among rolling hills, there existed a gathering like no other. Here, under the canopy of ancient oak trees and beside the tranquil babble of a meandering brook, a group of intellectuals would convene. Clad in their finest attires, they would discuss the wondrous enigma of the human mind. Each gathering, would somebody else like to read this?
How about Bob?
No, I'd like to see David read it. That's fine.
Each gathering with a symphony of intellect, a tapestry woven with threads of curiosity, knowledge, and passion. The air would be alive with the aroma of fresh brewed thoughts, and the ambience was as vibrant as a painter's palette. They would gather on ornate cushions arranged in a circle, as if honoring the ancient traditions of wise counsels from ages past. At the heart of the group was an elderly gentleman, his eyes twinkling with the wisdom of years spent in contemplation. His white beard flowed like a waterfall of knowledge, and his voice resonated like the echo of a time-bound honored truth. He would initiate discussions, setting the tone for the evening's discourse. Beside him sat a mathematician, fingers often absent-mindedly tracing imaginary equations in the air. His enthusiasm was infectious as he unraveled the complexities of numbers and patterns, making the very concept of infinity seem tangible. Opposite the mathematician sat a poet, draped in flowing robes that seemed to mirror the rhythms of his verses. His words were like silk, weaving tales of emotions and dreams, drawing the minds of his companions into a realm where metaphors danced and syllables whispered secrets. Next to the poet sat a philosopher, her gaze fixed upon the distant horizon as she pondered the very nature of existence. With every sentence that escaped her lips, she peeled back the layers of reality, revealing hidden dimensions of thought that left fellow intellectuals marveling at the depths of her insight. Completing the circle was a scientist, his eyes alight with the sparks of curiosity. He would recount tales of experiments conducted at the crossroads of possibility, where the boundaries between the known and the unknown blurred, revealing glimpses of truth waiting to be discovered. As twilight settled over the village, the intellectuals' voices would rise and fall like a symphony, a harmonious melody of diverse perspectives. The discussions would sway like the brook, sometimes meandering gently and other times rushing forward with fervor. As the moon cast its glow upon the animated faces, it was as if the very cosmos paused to eavesdrop on the secrets of the mind being unveiled. These gatherings are more than mere conversations. They were rituals of enlightenment, celebrations of the boundless potential of human thought. And so, beneath the star-studded canvas of the night sky, the group of intellectuals would continue to gather, their minds intertwining in a dance of intellect and wonder, leaving an indelible mark on the tapestry of time. Yeah, if you haven't used ChatGPT, I'd say that's a good introduction. Carolyn.
Before you started reading those two excerpts, I had the question, how could what you presented be presented to a 13-year-old? It seems like, those are all really good ideas about training the mind, but some of the language wouldn't quite work. Those two statements seem to me go halfway towards the presentation of what you put together, that a 12, 13, 15-year-old could relate to and learn from. What do you think about that possibility of making what you presented educationally effective for young people, teenagers, etc.?
Sure, David's going to show us exactly the answer to that.
You dare me, right? Yeah, well, I was typing it in as you were asking it. So I said, say it again, but in a way that a 13-year-old could relate to and learn from. Imagine Grandpa with a long white beard who knows everything about life. He'd start the talks and make everyone feel excited about sharing their ideas. Right next to him was a person who loved math more than anything. They made numbers feel like a fun puzzle and showed them how math is everywhere, from games to gadgets. Then there was this poet who used words like magic spells, making stories that could whisk you away to other worlds. Imagine your favorite song lyrics, but even cooler. Another person, like a deep thinker, looked at clouds and wondered what it means to be alive. They talked about big questions like, why are we here? And helped everyone to think in new ways. Does that answer your question? I have sometimes used it for a rewrite to just bring the levels either down or up in a composition. So yeah, it will do that pretty handily. Renée.
Hello. So I use ChatGPT all the time. I don't know if you can see here. I love it, especially because I speak a second language. So it's very difficult for me to sometimes express things or understand things. So I ask ChatGPT. I love the concept, but I do have a question. So we're studying how to train our minds and how to study our mind. ChatGPT basically has the answer for everything, right? It's a collective of all these different minds. So I feel that it's a little dangerous, right, to train our minds when we are not thinking for ourselves and we're using like ChatGPT and Ask Anything. So what would you say it's something we can do to kind of catch up or like complement with ChatGPT is doing? How can we train our minds without like giving up all the thinking, right? We have a question, we want to write a poem, a book, like an essay, and we just ask ChatGPT and it comes with the answer. How can we train our minds to not rely all the time on ChatGPT? Like, how can we do that?
Great question. I think that speaks to the Dalai Lama's quote as well about we can become lazy using something like this. And one of the regular attendees from my yin class, Loida, her husband, who teaches at one of the universities in DC, is actually writing a book right now on the topic of how artificial intelligence can be used educationally, specifically, because we know it's not going away. At Chaminade, it was written into one of the syllabi about not using it, but when we did the walkthrough of the syllabi, it was not mentioned. So people don't even know. We don't really understand it. So we're at this flux point where it could go either way, and you can use it either way. A couple of years ago, we had a really great talk here on GEMS called I think it was called The Empty Page. And that problem, when we begin to write anything, that the blank page is a huge problem. And this is one of the ways that this really, really is very, very helpful. You can feed it your ideas and say, express these more fully, expound on these ideas, and it will pull information from similar topics, through contextual similarities within the ideas, and it will give you a starting point, like it did for me. And from there, then you either do or don't apply your mind to take it to the next step. My answer is I don't really know. I think it could be used either way. I see Bob ready to chime in.
Well, as you were talking, it just struck me that, in the Chuang-Tzu, the Taoist text, it says, for a Confucian, you gain day by day. In other words, you do much like what you just did. You go continually forward with these ideas, refining and collecting them. Chuang-Tzu goes on to say, to study the Tao is to lose day by day. And, as you said, that blank piece of paper is such a scary thing, but that is the perfect ideal for the Taoist. The blank sheet of paper, the uncarved block of wood, is where everything is possible. So it's kind of an interesting process. The Buddhist philosopher Dogen said, take the step back and illuminate your own self, your own mind. In other words, don't show the mind working, but illuminate, turn it backwards, the mind itself. What's that?
I see Renee. Yeah, Cliff.
Well, yeah, you're really creating a real challenge here for us, David, because I do, as both Bob and Sharoni say, I think AI, this whole chat GPT or whatever, is double-edged, right? Kind of like nuclear power is double-edged. And it can be really good and also not so good. And the quote by the Dalai Lama, he says that the Western mind has this kind of directionality to it toward goals. And so we think we're always trying to achieve something, kind of usually on the outside. And so with this technology, you could do shortcuts to come up with something, whereas this idea of putting the mind back on itself and getting to that still point, or the uncarved block, or the unrippled pond, and being able to get to that place where the mind, I think the Patanjali said that yoga or concentration is the hindering of the modifications of the mind. So how to get to that place where, say, true imagination happens, true creative integration, or where you're bringing together your experience, your perceptions, and all these other elements are all kind of going into the soup of your consciousness instead of punting to AI. So I could see it being helpful because it could be another part of that process. But if we just rely on it, it seems like it could be a cop-out too. So
Absolutely.
I guess I was wondering about what what kind of filters do we want to put on our use of AI so that it is in service to higher, something higher. The Dalai Lama in that long quote speaks of like all servants. When our mind is in the service of a result, it renounces its independence. So if we want AI to be more of a servant than a master, to what end do we want it to serve? I guess maybe that's another way of asking my question.
All good questions. I see Mary has added something. Mary, I can definitely see, this is Mary, why the writers and actors are concerned about AI. Yeah, absolutely. Also brings back memories of 2001, A Space Odyssey. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dave, I just can't do that. Myrtle asks, what are you training the mind to do? Does AI foster growth of the mind or dependency? Yeah, so that seems to be kind of where the world is at with regard to this. But Cliff, when you were speaking about the still point where you're able to then, through that quietness, open the mind to the limitless possibilities of your experience. What if now with ChatGPT, it's not just your still mind opening up to your vast experience, but the vast experience of everyone collectively? That's pretty powerful. And I think it does kind of explain why it can so quickly write something that is, from my standpoint, pretty profound in terms of what it comes up with, and the way that it's synthesized in that piece that I put together. It wove the threads. Not all of the quotes were about taking care of each other, but it found that a theme that ran through all of the quotes, that it allows us to expand not only for ourselves but for others. And that is something that I believe, when I ask questions on a psychological nature, it always comes along with the caveat at the end that it says, be careful about how you use this. So the authors, whoever constructs the AI engine, has put in, I guess, what you call a sense of morality into it.
It does seem as if when we watched you elicit a response from this AI tool, that the way that you crafted your question, your request of it, was really eliciting something that was going to have, I think, a high value, at least one that the people in this group would value. And yeah, so I think it's how we ask the question is important. And I think that's part of the filtering process that I'm asking about.
Yes. Yeah, you can change a single word and completely change. So me coming from the place out of this conversation, you notice that there was a lot of similarities, even though I didn't ask about these quotes, but there was a lot of similarities that seemed to bleed over from the opening talk, almost as though somehow embedded in my languaging of those questions it pulled in that information. Now, it does when you're on one of the threads, you might say, one of the sutras, interesting idea, that it builds upon the thoughts that you've already had. But in constructing from these quotes, which I did, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago by now, when I first started the project, that was on a completely different chat, actually not the one that I was showing you. So how did it manage to bring it so closely contextually, somehow through the way that I asked the question is the best I can figure. Yeah, Bob.
It struck me as you were just talking here that, the key words like intellectual, and immediately that breaks into science, math, poetry. But, my sort of response back was, well, what about the other side? What about the emptying side? Had you stressed the key words, not intellectual, but say mystic, or the language that sort of goes the other direction, that probably would have worked just as well. And they would have had a whole different set of quotes that would have talked about emptying the mind, and probably would have found Chuang Tzu's quote.
Yes, very, very likely. Yeah, good, very good point. And as I mentioned, I did take several cuts at it, asking the questions slightly different, and asking for it in sort of a different feel, and the way that you ask it definitely influences where it goes. And I don't understand the technology completely. I did invite someone who works for Meta, who's working in the VR, can probably, but apparently it constructs word by word. Whatever the next most likely word to say is what it puts down. I've heard that description, and this does remind me. So when I was at the conference in June in Denver, I was sitting next to someone who is studying AI at Stanford, 21-year-old, brilliant mind, and he said AI will make stuff up when it doesn't have an actual resource to go from. It will make stuff up, and they call those hallucinations.
Yeah.
So AI does hallucinate.
Well, we are at the top of the hour. So while I'm asking if someone would like to give a vote of thanks to David, and while you're musing on that, I'd like to tell you about the next 2 sessions that we'll have at Gems from the Wisdom Traditions. I really feel as if this next one is quite related to what we've just been talking about. The theme for next week will be magnetizing ourselves. And so magnetizing ourselves has to do, I think, with what we draw towards us and what we, in maybe a protective sort of way, repel from us. And we have one of our Still Moving Center students, dancers, and somebody who is a healer who is going to speak on that. Her name is Jess Bell. The following week, we have the theme of flowing like a river. And if you have ever been with Kumu Malia as she uses her hands, you will have met someone who physically knows, and I think also at deeper levels knows how to flow like a river. So she's the one we're going to be privileged to have giving that presentation 2 weeks from today on August 26th. So let me ask if there's somebody who would like to give David a vote of thanks for this really quite remarkable presentation that we've had today, unlike any that we've ever had before. And no fair calling on AI to do it.
Well, Renee, I feel like that is acknowledgement enough. I really appreciate what you've just said. That that today was a little different than things that we've had in the past, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be pressed a bit to put this together. So, my appreciation goes back to you, Renee, and to everybody that participated today. So, thank you.
But I could see that we have both Carol Ann and Sharone leaning into the screen, so I'm going to call on Sharone.
Just want to say thank you because I have been using and relying on ChatGPT this past month a lot, like almost every day, to do research, to craft emails. And just want to say thank you for bringing out how to train the mind, because until this conversation, I didn't really realize how lazy and how I was not training my mind or starting my mind on I was using just this because I've been lazy or I'm in a rush. And right now you brought awareness to this is a powerful tool that I should be aware of and use smartly and not rely on it and train my mind and like do other things that is not only relying on it, like reading more and going outside to maybe expand my mind more and not just rely on it. So I do want to say thank you so much. This was incredible and I'll be back.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Wow. Thank you, David. Aloha.
Aloha.